Welcome back to my Youth Bay channel. Today we're unpacking one of the most disturbing and confusing true crime sagas in modern American history, the Murdaugh family case. And specifically, we're focusing on one person who was left behind in the wreckage, Buster Murdaugh. The murders, the trial, the national headlines, everyone remembers Alex, Maggie, and Paul. But Buster is the one name that kept surfacing in courtrooms, police records, and documentaries, without ever being the person on trial. Today we examine, factually and carefully, what really happened around Buster Murdaugh, what led him into the public eye, how the deaths in his family shaped his life, what legal and social fallout he faced, and where he is today. Let's get started. 1. WHO is Buster Murdaugh. Before the storm Richard Buster Murdaugh II was born into what was, for nearly a century, the most powerful legal family in the South Carolina Low Country. His father, Alex Murdaugh, was a well-connected attorney at the influential PMPED law firm. His grandfather, great-grandfather, and great-great-grandfather all served as elected prosecutors in the region. For decades, the Murdaugh family name meant wealth, influence, and protection. Buster grew up in that world: private schools, hunting trips, boats on the river, political fundraisers, and an identity built on the assumption that the Murdaugh name was untouchable. Before tragedy struck, Buster was on track to follow the family path. He attended Wofford College and later enrolled in law school at the University of South Carolina, preparing to continue the generational power chain. But the Murdaugh empire began to crumble before the nation's eyes. It didn't start with the murders, it started with cracks that had been forming for years. 2. The first public scandal that put the family under a microscope. In 2019, Buster's younger brother Paul was at the center of a deadly boat crash that killed 19-year-old Mallory Beach. That case brought cameras, lawsuits, and national scrutiny onto the Murdaughs for the first time. Allegations circulated that the family tried to influence witnesses, contain the media, and shield Paul from consequences. Though Buster was not driving the boat and had nothing to do with the crash directly, his name entered the formal narrative because of claims that his ID might have been used to purchase alcohol for the trip. That connection, even if indirect, became the first moment Buster stopped being anonymous. He was now part of a scandal he did not control, dragged into the public sphere because of a last name he didn't choose. 3 years later, far worse events would eclipse the boat crash. 3. The night everything changed, the double murder on June 7, 2021, the Murdaugh story entered a new and unthinkable chapter. Maggie and Paul Murdaugh were found shot to death on the family's 1,700-acre estate in Colleton County. The scene was brutal and chaotic, the kind of crime that detonates a family's entire universe. Buster wasn't there that night. He was living in another city. When the news reached him, his life split into a before and an after. In the hours that followed, Alex Murdaugh called 911, claimed to have discovered the bodies, and insisted to investigators that his family had been targeted. From that moment, Buster became the only surviving child, the last heir of a collapsing dynasty. Reporters wanted his reactions. Investigators wanted statements. The public wanted answers. But Buster said little. He stayed in the background while the world dissected his family's nightmare in real time. 4. The investigations begin, and the spotlight moves toward his father in the weeks after the murders. Public pressure intensified. Who did it? Who would want Maggie and Paul dead? Why? At first, many assumed this was retaliation for the boat crash case or some old legal enemy of the Murdaughs. But as investigators dug deeper, the narrative shifted inward. Financial irregularities surfaced. Missing funds. Insurance schemes. Allegations of fraud at Alex's law firm. One revelation after another pointed not toward outside enemies, but toward the patriarch of the family himself. Buster watched, silent, as the man who raised him, the man who shaped the Murdaugh name, went from powerful attorney to criminal defendant. 5. Alex Murdaugh charged. Buster enters the courtroom spotlight in July 2022. Alex Murdaugh was formally charged with the murders of Maggie and Paul. The trial was televised. The country watched. For the first time, Buster was forced into full public visibility. Buster sat behind his father in court, straight-faced, expression controlled, never breaking. Cameras zoomed in on him almost as often as on Alex. Then came the moment that pulled him fully into the narrative. He was called to testify. On the stand, Buster spoke not as a suspect or a strategist, but as a son. He described the night he learned of the deaths. He described his father calling him. He denied that his father sounded panicked or irrational. He maintained composure while the prosecutors and defense used his words to build competing stories about guilt, motive, and timeline. His testimony did not save Alex. 6. The verdict and the shattering of a family legend. In March 2023, after weeks of testimony and media obsession, the jury delivered a verdict, guilty on all counts. Alex Murdaugh was sentenced to life in prison. With that verdict, the Murdaugh kingdom finally collapsed. The law firm name was removed from plaques. Assets were seized. Generations of inherited power dissolved. And Buster, the one person left on the outside, had to walk out of that courtroom into a world where his last name was now a curse word, a headline, a stigma. He lost his mother. He lost his brother. He lost his father not to death, but to conviction. And he lost the shield that once insulated him from the consequences the rest of the world faces. There are stories where the villain is clear and the hero is obvious, and then there are stories like this one. Buster Murdaugh didn't choose the legacy he was born into, but he now carries the weight of everything that happened under that family name. A dynasty collapsed. A father convicted. A brother gone. A mother murdered. And one son left to live under a microscope forever. Whether you believe Buster is a victim of circumstance or a quiet beneficiary of a corrupted empire, one truth is undeniable: his life will never return to anonymity. He will live the rest of his years in the shadow of a tragedy that the world refuses to forget. If you found this deep dive worth your time, make sure you stick around, because we are only just beginning to unpack the cases, secrets, and money trails surrounding America's most infamous fallen family. Subscribe for the next chapter.